After the contract marriage ended, I took the 50 million given to me by the stunning CEO and rented a piece of land, surrounded by mountains and rivers in the suburbs, living a pastoral life. Just when I thought I would never cross paths with her again, her sudden visit disrupted all my future plans. My name is Chen Lu, and I'm 22 years old just after graduating on my way home. One night, I rescued a beautiful woman who was unconscious from a car accident and about to be burned alive after sending her to the hospital. I left without saying goodbye because it was too late anyway. Her family came to the hospital, so it didn't matter whether I was there or not right however. Just when I thought I would never have anything to do with her again, she and her family came to my door 10 days after the car accident. Knock, knock, knock. I was sleeping in at home when I was suddenly awakened by the knocking on the door. I turned over and picked up my phone and checked the time. It was 10:21 a.m. I didn't order takeout or anything online, so why was someone knocking? And I don't owe any rent, so the landlord wouldn't be looking for me either. Just as I was wondering who had knocked, the knocking sounded again, accompanied by a crisp and pleasant voice, "Is anyone home?" I was stunned by the pleasantness of the voice. You could tell that the owner of the voice was probably a beautiful woman. But why would a woman be looking for me so early in the morning? Could it be the new neighbor moved in next door before I could think too much? The knocking sounded again, so I quickly, "Someone's home, I'll be right there. Please wait." Hearing my reply, the knocking stopped. I quickly got up, tidied my hair and appearance, and then went to the door and opened it. Immediately, I was greeted by a young and extremely beautiful woman. If 100 points is a perfect score, I think she has at least 98. However, she seemed a little familiar, and so did the middle-aged man behind her. "Hello. Can I help you here?" In my question, the middle-aged man spoke first. "Young man, would you mind if we came in and talked?" Oh sure, come in, take a seat on the sofa." Looking at the three of them, they didn't seem like bad people, so I stepped aside and let them in. My rented apartment is the one-bedroom apartment. The living room has a sofa that I spent a full 500 yuan on, which is more than enough for 3 people to sit. After the 3 of them sat down on the sofa, I turned around and closed the door and went to the refrigerator to get them each a can of Coke. Although I didn't know who they were, I still knew how to treat guests. Then the middle-aged man continued to ask, "Young man, do you remember saving a girl who was in a coma after a car accident 10 days ago?" A girl in a coma after a car accident. Hearing this keyword, I suddenly remembered the female driver from that night. Then I looked at the young woman sitting to the right of the middle-aged man. When she saw me looking at her, she blinked and gave a cute smile. It was this expression that finally made me realize why she looked so familiar when I first saw her. She was the female driver from that night. Thinking of this, I suddenly realized, oh, I remember now. You're the female driver from that night. That's why you look so familiar when I first saw you. So you're here because seeing that, I finally recognized her. The young woman smiled as well, then said, "You finally remembered me. Thank you so much for saving me back. Then if it weren't for you, I'd be dust by now. That's why we came to thank you. This time, we've been busy with our group's affairs recently, so we haven't been able to find the time to thank you. I'm truly sorry." "Oh right. My name is Lu Ruyan. You can call me Ruyan. This is my father Lu Juni, and this is my mother Jiang Wanmei." Hearing this, Chen Lu smiled and introduced himself. "Hello, my name is Chen Lu, meaning happiness. You could just call me Yeli." After the introductions, Lu Ryan explained why they had taken so long to visit. It turned out that her car accident was deliberately caused. They had been dealing with the matter, so they hadn't been able to find the time to thank him. Now that they had resolved the issue, they came over as soon as possible. Although Lou Reynolds didn't go into specific details, I could tell from her tone that she was extremely angry about it. Well, of course, anyone would be furious about being deliberately set up for a car accident, especially when the other party wanted you dead. After Lou Ryan finished speaking, the 3 of them actually stood up and bowed to me, which scared me half to death. The president and vice president of a multi-billion-dollar group bowing to a nobody like me. Who could handle that? Despite my attempts to stop them, they insisted, so I had no choice but to accept. Finally, they left a bank card with 5 million yuan and gave me 3 promises. If I encountered any problems in the future, I could seek their help. Even if I wanted to join the Lu Group as a manager, the promise would still be valid. I didn't really care about the promise after all. I didn't want to have to seek their help one day, and I didn't think I would have any further interactions with them. However, I was very interested in the 5 million yuan they gave me, because it would be very important for my future plans. So I accepted it without any guilt. Lu Rain and her family were relieved that I didn't refuse the gift of gratitude for wealthy families. Like them, the most frightening thing is owing someone a favor, especially a life-saving favor of this magnitude. So after I accepted the gift, they quickly said their goodbyes watching them leave. I gently closed the door and then jumped around the room excitedly. 5 million yuan. It's something many people wouldn't even dare to imagine in their entire lives. And I got it, just by saving someone. Wouldn't that make others envious to death? Indeed, good people are ultimately rewarded. After logging into the bank's official website on my computer and seeing the amount of 5,000 written on the car balance, my excited mood gradually calmed down. Although 5 million yuan is a lot, it's still far from enough for my plan. That's right, I've had a plan since I was a child, which is to buy a piece of land with mountains and rivers on the outskirts of the city, and then transform it into the manner I planting the flowers, plants, vegetables, and fruits I want to grow, raising some small animals, and digging a small fish pond to raise some fish when I have time. I can also make videos and do live streams. Finally, I'll bring my parents over to enjoy their old age in peace. This is the complete dream of life I have imagined, which is why I chose the niche major of landscape design. But unfortunately, to realize this dream, I need at least 30 or 40 million yuan, and I only have 5 million yuan now, which is still far from enough. I wonder if I'll ever realize that dream in this lifetime. After turning off the computer, I went back to bed and fell asleep. Today is Saturday, and since I don't have to work, I basically choose to lie flat at home only on Sundays. Will I choose to go out and have some fun, or find some part-time work to earn some pocket money? And so another week passed. A week passed, and having gained 5 million, my life hasn't changed much. It's still the same routine of company to home. If I have time, I'll go to the market to buy some ingredients and reward myself with a few good dishes. After all, now that I have money, I don't need to save on food anymore. However, like always, I plan to sleep in on Saturday to recharge, intending to sleep until the afternoon. But once again, I was woken up by a knock on the door in the morning. Who is it? This early in the morning? I said with some annoyance, just waking up from a daze. But to my surprise, a familiar voice came from outside the door. Chen Lu. It's me, Lu Ruyan. When I heard this voice, I couldn't help but be stunned. Why is this young miss here again? Today, logically speaking, I already received their thank you gift, so I should have paid back all the favors, right? Since it's all paid back, this young miss shouldn't need to come and find me again. But since she's already at the door, it definitely wouldn't be good if I didn't open it. So I replied and immediately got up to open the door. Oh, it's Miss Lu. Just wait a moment. I'll be right there. Since I don't have a habit of sleeping naked, I didn't need to put on any clothes or anything. I quickly walked to the door, opened it, and saw Lu Ruyan, with her cold expression and exquisite beauty, standing at the door looking at me. After our eyes met, I quickly looked away, feeling a little embarrassed. Although, I think I'm quite handsome compared to an extreme beauty like her who's a perfect 98 out of 100, and the vice president of a trillion-dollar group. Whether its net worth, status, or appearance, Leroux is at the top level. I always feel like my little bit of handsomeness is no different from that of an average person. So I shifted my gaze and stepped aside to let her in. Just like last week, I took a bottle of cola from the refrigerator for her, although she didn't drink it last time. It doesn't hinder my hospitality after all. My refrigerator only has cola and no other drinks. But to my surprise, she actually drank it this time with a PSSD sound. Lu Rain skillfully opened the cola, took a sip, and then turned to look at me, seeming to have something she wanted to say, but also seemed a little embarrassed to say it. And I didn't know what she wanted to say, so I could only wait for her to say it. And so I looked at her, and she looked at me. We both fell into an awkward silence. Miss Lu Chen Lu, just as I was about to break the silence, she and I simultaneously said the other's name. This made us even more awkward. But Lu Ruyan is, after all, a figure who can serve as the vice president in a trillion-dollar group. Although it's her own family's, it doesn't hinder her abilities. So she quickly composed herself and then said, Chunlu, the reason I came this time is actually to ask you to do me a favor. This favor is very simple, and I will give you compensation. But Lu reined in became a little embarrassed as she spoke and didn't continue to say it. And when I heard the keyword compensation, my eyes lit up instantly, based on their habit of giving out 5 million a time. If she's coming to me for help this time, the compensation shouldn't be low. Right? What if it's he thinking of this? I quickly patted my chest and said, Miss Lu, what kind of help do you need? Just tell me directly if I can help. I definitely won't refuse. Perhaps reassured by my confirmation, Leru then explained the problem. She wanted my help with the reason I came here. This time is actually to ask you to, as Lu Rain elaborated. I finally understood why she was hesitant to say the rest. It turned out she came to discuss marriage with me, of course. A fake Reich, basically. She wanted me to register our marriage. And then, we would agree to divorce after 3 years. During this time, I would need to play the role of a husband, stay by her side to take care of her, and we would act like we were deeply in love to discourage those wealthy young men. The reason was that after Lu Rian became the vice president of the Lu Group, more and more wealthy second-generation heirs started pursuing her, and Lu Rian was very clear about why they were pursuing her. They simply wanted the Lu Group. Although there were many suitors before, it wasn't as exaggerated as it was now. Moreover, the Lu Group's industries covered a very wide range, so there were many companies they collaborated with, and the wealthy second-generation heirs pursuing her were mostly the sons of the CEOs of these companies. Therefore, for the stability of the group's development, she couldn't afford to offend them too much since everyone knew each other. But not dealing with it was making her feel extremely annoyed, because these wealthy young men were constantly confessing their love under the Lu building with light displays, flower arrangements, firework displays, singing, dancing, rapping, and all sorts of other tricks. She couldn't stand it anymore in her eyes. These wealthy second-generation heirs were like childish elementary school students, and she had no interest in them whatsoever. Out of desperation, she sought help from her best friend, who, true to form, came up with a solution: marriage, to put an end to the advances of these wealthy young men. When she heard her best friend's analysis of the benefits of this approach, I was the first target that came to her mind. And so, knowing that I would be resting at home on Saturday, I had mentioned it to them last Saturday. She came over early in the morning. So you're planning to solve the problem of being constantly pursued by those wealthy second-generation heirs through this method? Yes. Wow. Those are all famous wealthy second-generation heirs in our city, driving luxury cars worth millions. How can an ordinary person like me fight with them? I don't want to end up with my body at the bottom of the river. Miss Lu, you should find someone else to help with this. I'm really sorry. Hearing Lu Reynolds' confirmation, I couldn't help but gasp and then refuse. Good grief. Although I was interested in the reward she offered, I wasn't stupid. If I married her, wouldn't I become a thorn in the side of those wealthy second-generation heirs? There might not be any problems during the marriage, but what would become of me after the divorce? I definitely couldn't beat those wealthy second-generation heirs. Although it's a society governed by law now, so I probably wouldn't have to worry too much about my life. Those wealthy heirs would definitely have other ways to mess with me, making it impossible for me to live in this city. Therefore, there's no way I could take on this job. And Lu Rian, hearing my refusal, became a little anxious with her personality. She had never had more than 5 male friends, from childhood to adulthood, and these male friends were her cousins and younger brothers. Although she didn't think she had a dislike for men, she really didn't like interacting with outside men, so she couldn't find someone who met the criteria to help her solve the problem she was currently facing. So I, the man with the built-in savior aura, is our only option. Chenlu, don't rush to refuse. I know this is risky for you, but we live in a society ruled by law. No one would risk committing a crime for my sake. It's not worth it. At most, they'll resort to some underhanded tactics, but I can guarantee that these tactics won't affect you in any way. Even after our agreement ends, I can guarantee that you won't be affected by these people in the future. I can write all of this into our agreement. And aren't you curious to know how much I'm prepared to pay you? After hearing Lu Ryan's explanation, I was a little swayed. If there's a guarantee in the agreement, it would be more secure. But just as I was hesitating, Lu Ryan spoke again. 50 million Chunlo. If you agree to help me, I'll pay you a reward of 50 million, occupying 3 years of your time, with an annual reward of 10 million. and an additional 20 million after our agreement ends. What 50 million? When I heard that number, I was instantly stunned as expected of a young. Miss, her offer starts at 50 million if I had this money. Wouldn't my dreams be directly achieved? And there would still be some left over in that case. What am I afraid of those rich second-generation guys for if they dare to come looking for trouble? I don't mind letting them taste the power of my Chun style Tai Chi that I've been practicing for over a decade. Thinking of this, I rubbed my hands together a little embarrassedly and said, "Hey, Miss Lowell, it's said that helping others is a traditional virtue of ours. I personally dislike seeing girls being harassed by these rich second-generation guys. The most so, I was wondering when we can sign the agreement. I will definitely use my best efforts to block all harassment for you." Saying that, I patted my chest originally. Lu Ruoyin was a little afraid that I would refuse again. She didn't expect that after she mentioned the reward, I immediately changed my attitude. This change was so fast that it exceeded her expectations, causing her to be a little stunned. Seeing her like this, I suddenly became anxious. Could it be that she saw how quickly I accepted and wanted to go back on her word? That wouldn't do. If she reneged, where else would I get 50 million from? And how would I realize my dreams without thinking too much? I spoke again to remind her. Miss Lu. Hearing my reminder, Lu Lian finally came back to her senses and quickly replied, Oh, in that case, let's sign the agreement right away. I've already brought the agreement. See if there's anything you want to add, and we can discuss it carefully after speaking. She took out 3 copies of the agreement from her bag. Looking at her action, it was clear that she was very well prepared. I took the 3 copies of the agreement and carefully looked through them, although Lu Ian herself was asking me for help and wouldn't do anything underhanded in the agreement. But the cooperation agreement should still be read, as it's a form of respect for oneself and others. After reading the agreement, I didn't find any problems. Lurian wrote the conditions clearly in the agreement, including the reward, what work I needed to do, and what guarantees Lurian would give me after the agreement ended, etc. For example, after the 2 of them got married, I would need to move into Lu Rian's house and take on the role of a live-in son-in-law. That's right, a live-in son-in-law. This identity is more convincing than a relatively equal marriage. After all, it's impossible for the Lu group to let their daughter marry an ordinary person, especially an ordinary person who hadn't appeared around Lurian before. Therefore, under such circumstances, we naturally couldn't use the excuse of a loving marriage. Then, the best remaining option was naturally a live-in son-in-law. Getting a live-in son-in-law requires the consent of the elders, since Lu Lian's elders had agreed. Even if we weren't that loving after the marriage, outsiders wouldn't have the right to comment. This way we could eliminate the possibility of our relationship being exposed. Therefore, after reading the contents described in the agreement, I had nothing to add. After quickly signing my name on the agreement, I handed it back to Lu Ruan. Once Lu Ruiyuan had also signed her name, the agreement officially came into effect immediately afterwards. Lu Ruiyuan took out another 2 copies of an agreement from her bag and said to me, Chen Lu, for added security, I'd like you to serve as my personal assistant for the next 3 years. The job description is very simple. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me or my secretary. This is an employment contract. You can take a look. Hearing this, I took the contract Lu Ri handed me and began to read it slowly. The job duties weren't many and seemed quite simple, mainly handling some miscellaneous tasks, such as making coffee and tea, going downstairs to buy things, organizing documents, and acting as a driver when going out, etc. However, when I saw the salary written on it, I couldn't help myself anymore. I quickly grabbed a pen and signed my name on the contract. No way a job paying 100,000 a month, hesitating for even a second, would be a sin. Okay, then I wish us a happy collaboration. Seeing that she had achieved her goal so smoothly today, a charming smile spread across Lu Rian's originally cold and aloof face. Happy collaboration. I gently shook the hand that Lu Ruyan extended towards me and replied with a smile after shaking it. Once I let go immediately afterwards, Lu Ruyan spoke again. Well, in that case, I'll head back first next Wednesday. I'll have someone pick you up to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register a marriage, and then on Thursday, I'll take you to the company to start a job. Before that, you can first deal with any work-related issues you have. If there's anything you can't resolve, you can contact me. This is my WeChat. Let's add each other as friends. With that, we both took out our phones and added each other's WeChat. Then Lu Rian left, leaving behind only a faint fragrance in the air. And that's how I began my 3-year stint as a fake husband. 3 years passed by quickly during this time. In order to perfectly receive the 50 million reward and satisfy the client, my portrayal of the husband, no, the live and son-in-law role was meticulous and sincere, not to mention those rich second-generation heirs. Even Lu Reynolds' parents, grandparents, and relatives almost recognized me as a real live and son-in-law. After all, to play the role more realistically, I put a lot of effort into Lu Reynolds' food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. Whenever she was sick, I would be the first to appear by her side, taking care of her and making medicinal meals to help her recover. I would also accommodate her occasional small temper tantrums, which were actually work-related problems. In the position of personal assistant, I also tried my best to play my part, although she and I were in a contractual marriage, and the relationship wasn't real. Every time she encountered troubles at work, she didn't choose to hide them from me, but instead shared and complained to me right away. And I would also offer some suggestions. Even though most of them weren't very useful, Lu Reynolds would still listen attentively. This could be considered a mutual understanding between us. Of course, as the eldest daughter of the Lu family, Lu Rian didn't need me to worry about her clothing, housing, or transportation. Servants and secretaries took care of those things. What I actually do is in the area of food, to be able to bring Lu Rian what she likes to eat to work every day, and to cook what she likes to eat when I get home. I used all the culinary experience and chef talent I had accumulated over the years. I especially developed a lot of new dishes and desserts for Leru later. It even developed to customizing some for her elders. In addition to that, there were some medicinal diets and Chinese medicinal cuisine, etc. I had them completely hooked on the taste. Even the older generation felt their bodies had improved a lot after eating my medicinal diets and Chinese medicinal cuisine. For example, Lu Rian's grandfather, Lu Shouhua, had been suffering from rheumatic foot pain, which was excruciatingly painful every time it rained. He could only rely on some Chinese medicine to alleviate it, but it couldn't be cured later. After eating my Chinese medicinal cuisine, for a while the condition gradually improved, and his feet no longer hurt when it rained. That's also why they almost recognized me as a real live and son-in-law, although I couldn't showcase my culinary skills to the public due to family reasons. In these 3 years, Leru and I were legally married, so her family was my family, and there were no restrictions on me showcasing my culinary skills to my family. I guess that was like exploiting a loophole. Thank you, Sugar Mommy. Despite the fact that I had taken care of Lu Rian aunt meticulously for the past 3 years, I also felt very happy in the Lu family, mainly because the money was right, thanks to my status as her life-saving benefactor, and for helping Lu Rian solve the problems of being harassed by wealthy second-generation heirs. Lu Rian's parents and grandparents didn't treat me like a stranger, but rather treated me as Lu Rian's friend. So for the first month, my relationship with them was like going to a friend's house for the first time and meeting their parents. And the change in the relationship started on a Saturday night. At that time, Lu Rian said she couldn't sleep and ended up getting hungry while scrolling through Douyin. So she asked if I could take her out to the street for something to eat. I didn't expect a multi-billion-dollar heiress to get hungry too. However, since it was already after 1 a.m., I didn't really want to go, because by the time we finished eating and came back, it would be at least 3 a.m., and I wasn't hungry either. So I volunteered to cook her a bowl of noodles. Lu Rian agreed with my culinary skills. Cooking a bowl of noodles was easy, right? So I went to the kitchen and made her a bowl of Chin's braised pork instant noodles as quickly as possible. Speaking of braised pork, it was actually made using a special technique, because if I followed the normal method, it would take at least several hours to complete the braised pork. By the time the braised pork was ready, it would be dawn. Although the taste of the braised pork, made using the special technique, was slightly inferior, the aroma was not affected. But even if the taste was slightly inferior, it was only compared to the braised pork I made using the normal method. It was nowhere near comparable to the braised pork currently on the market. So when I brought out this bowl of Chin's braised pork, Instant noodles. The aroma of the braised pork quickly spread throughout the entire first floor of the villa. It even woke up Lou Reynolds' parents who lived on the first floor. When they followed the aroma from their room to the dining room, they saw Lou Ryan slurping the noodles, frantically as if she hadn't eaten for days. That scene really subverted their perception of their daughter. And Lou Ryan, who was eating happily at the time, naturally didn't know that her parents were already behind her. It was only after I reminded her that she noticed. However, not only was she not embarrassed, but she even praised the noodles to them repeatedly. The final result was naturally predictable. Under the somewhat embarrassed request of Mr. and Mrs. Lou, I made a bowl for each of them, since there was still quite a bit of braised pork left over from before. 2 bowls of fragrant braised pork instant noodles were quickly ready. Watching all 3 of them enter a frenzy of slurping noodles, I couldn't help but reveal a hint of pride. My culinary skills were indeed remarkable. Having finished, I naturally didn't disturb their slurping. I chose to go back to sleep from then on. I gradually gained control of their stomachs. Although the daily meals were still left to the chef they had hired, but ever since they ate my cooking, these previously decent meals had become just something to fill their bellies. So every weekend or holiday, Lou Rain and her parents would express their desire for me to cook, and even offered a hard-earned fee of 5,000 yuan for weekdays and 10,000 yuan for holidays per meal. I have to say, having money is really good. I'm taking this job nonsense. You can earn at least 10,000 yuan a day if you add breakfast. That would be 15,000 yuan. Only a fool would refuse this job. That's at least 40,000 to 60,000 yuan a month more on holidays. That's roughly 500,000 to 600,000 yuan a year if you add the cost of making medicinal cuisine and traditional Chinese medicine dishes. It would be even more. Moreover, over these 3 years, in addition to the hard-earned money from cooking, I would also receive red envelopes from Lou Ryan's elders or relatives during Chinese New Year and other holidays. These people are all rich, and they give out tens of thousands of yuan at a time. So in these 3 years, in addition to the 50 million yuan agreed upon in the agreement, the salary and bonuses of a personal assistant, the hard-earned money from cooking, the red envelopes during the New Year and holidays, etc., amounted to nearly 9 million yuan. Extra. Damn, being with a sugar mommy is awesome. If the agreement wasn't only for 3 years, I could do this job for a lifetime, of course. That can only be dreamed of, huh? When Lou Ryan and I came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I felt that my mood was extremely happy, because I was about to start building my dream. Lou Rain saw that the smile on my face hadn't stopped since I came out of the Civil Affairs Bureau. This made her feel a hint of annoyance, a hint of loss, and a hint of reluctance. She didn't know why she had these feelings. It was obviously just a contract marriage, and the two should part ways after the agreement ended, and she herself didn't think she had fallen in love with me. So why did she have these feelings? Unable to figure out for a moment, she suggested ILO is the new house in the suburbs renovated. Yet, if it's not renovated, yet you can continue to stay at my house for a while longer and move out after the renovation is complete. In fact, my agreement with Levian ended 3 days ago, but because I've been busy recently, I haven't had time to complete the divorce registration. This also means that we still need to wait for a 30-day cooling-off period before we can complete the official divorce. Now that I was out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I was thinking about how to build my small manor, so I didn't notice the different emotions in Lou Reynolds' tone, and replied with a smile, "No need. Miss Lou, the house has already been fully renovated, so there's no need to trouble you anymore. We'll see each other again in 30 days. With that, I walked to my car parked on the side of the road, started the car, and drove towards the suburbs. My car is a Xiaomi SU7 Max version, which I picked up last month. Considering that after the agreement ends, I will no longer be able to drive the Lou family's car, I ordered a car for myself in advance with the funds I have now buying a 300,000 yuan car is naturally easy. Meanwhile, Lou Rain left standing there, wanted to say something, but unsure how to begin. She could only watch as I got in the car and slowly disappeared from her sight. Instantly, a sense of loss filled her mind, as if she had lost something, making her feel extremely uncomfortable. But now that I had driven away, it was too late. Even if she had something she wanted to say to me. So the usually aloof Lou, who always maintained a cool facade in front of others now resembled a small abandoned woman. Watching my departing figure, Lu Rian stomped her foot hard on the ground. That guy he left. Without a second thought. Doesn't he have any feelings for me at all? He used to call me Rian. But in the blink of an eye he switched to Miss Lu. How quickly he changed. Ugh, helpless. Lu Ryan had no choice but to return to her car and drive to her best friend's house. An hour later at Lu Ryan's best friend's house. Ryan, didn't you say? It was just an agreement, so why are you telling me all this now? Could it be you've fallen for Chinlero? Mayar, aloof man, despising Ku, is actually feeling the stirrings of love. When Lu Rain shared her feelings with her best friend, Wang Xiaoming, the latter was first puzzled, then amazed. She never imagined that her always cool and collected best friend, who had never even considered dating or marriage, was showing signs of falling in love. It was truly like the sun rising in the west. I don't know. I don't think I've fallen for him. But the thought of our agreement ending and no longer having any connection makes me feel uneasy. Lu Rain replied with a sigh, seeing her best friend's surprised expression. Haha. Silly girl, that's love when a woman feels uneasy about a man leaving, unless that man is a relative. There's only one you like him. Maybe your feelings for him are still in the early stages. But like is like, the nature of it can't be changed. If you ask me, Chen Lu is a good guy, although his family background is a bit lacking with your Lu family situation. You don't need to worry about his background, right? Most importantly, he's impeccable when it comes to taking care of women. Look at you in these 3 years. He's kept you so fair and healthy, with a perfect figure, and your skin is much better than before. You don't look like a 26-year-old woman at all, but like a 17 or 18-year-old girl. And your complexion is much better than before. You don't look like you've been working hard for years at all. It's not as exaggerated as you say. He hasn't exactly fattened me up, Lu Reynolds said, her cheeks flushing red. It's not exaggerated at all. Ryan, you don't know how good you have it. If you don't believe me, compare yourself to Zhang Zixuan. She often gets all sorts of skincare and body treatments, but you can still see signs of aging on her skin, because it's something women can't avoid, and using too many cosmetics will accelerate the process. So Ryan, you must cherish some men when it's time to cherish them, and be proactive when it's time to be proactive. Don't wait until you lose them to feel regret, or I won't take in heartbroken girls here. Wang Xiaoming explained, not forgetting to tease her. Oh, he's not as good as you say, Lu. Ryan retorted stubbornly. Since you think Xuanlu isn't good enough, Ryan, then I'm ready to go for him with my looks. I don't believe I can't win him over. It had been quite a while since I'd eaten Xian Li's cooking. I really missed it. Few. Wang Xiaoming couldn't help but smile at Lu Ruyan's stubbornness. Dealing with this kind of person only required one tactic: do the opposite. So Wang Xiaoming unleashed her steel, my best friend's man technique. Since you don't like him, then I'll go for it. After doing all that, Wang Xiaoming even licked her lips. This wasn't a fake gesture. She'd been yearning for my cooking ever since she first tasted it. Every holiday or occasional weekend, she would freeload at the Lewis, and she'd certainly gotten her fill over the past 3 years. As expected, Lu Ryan exploded upon hearing that. No, Chen Lu and I aren't officially divorced yet. Then I'll just wait until you're officially divorced. It's only a month anyway. And then seeing Lu Rian panicking, Wang Xiaoming kept up the pressure. But before she could finish, Lu Rian stopped her. Even divorced, it's still a no. Ao. I knew it. I haven't even started. And you're already getting worked up, still saying you don't like him. I'm just teasing you. How could I, Wang Xiaoming, be so low as to steal my best friend's man? You can relax, haha. Seeing Lu Lian's reaction, Wang Xiaoming burst out laughing and teased her. Ah, Xiao Ming, you trick me. I'm gonna tickle you to death. After Wang Xiaoming's words, Lu Rian realized she'd been played by her best friend, so she started tickling with both hands. Haha. I'm sorry. Stop it. Unable to take it, Wang Xiaoming instantly surrendered. But Lu Yuan wouldn't let her off so easily, since Wang Xiaoming had mercilessly revealed her hidden secret. Seeing that Lu Yuan wasn't going to let her go, Wang Xiaoming endured the ticklish agony, and with both hands launched a counterattack. The two of them wrestled around like that. After who knows how long, they finally couldn't take it anymore and collapsed onto the sofa. If there were any outsiders, they might have caught a glimpse of exposed skin from their disheveled clothes. Rian I think you should ask your parents and your grandparents if they agree. I suggest you make a bold move. If you don't know how to make a move, come find me. I can give you some ideas, even though I'm a single dog myself. I've studied a lot of tutorials on girls. Pursuing guys taking down little Chun. Lu will be a piece of cake after resting for a while. Wang Xiao. Ming sat up, patted her ample chest. And guaranteed after this teasing from Wang Xiao, Ming Lurian also understood her inner feelings. So she nodded that night after returning home. Lu Ruyan told her parents her thoughts. Ruyan, our Lu family is large and prosperous. We don't need to consider things like social status. So just go after him with confidence. And we're quite happy with that, Chun. Li kid. He's a good cook and knows how to take care of people. I'm completely at ease leaving you in his hands after hearing Lu Ruyan express her inner thoughts. Lu's parents agreed without a second thought. They had always thought that their daughter didn't have romantic feelings for me, so they didn't feel comfortable offering any suggestions. Now that they heard that their daughter had feelings for me, they naturally wouldn't refuse. And after receiving the support of her parents, a charming smile appeared on Lurian's face. Back in her room, Lurian took out her phone, found a contact named Deadwood on WeChat, and sent a message. Ale, have you settled into your new home yet? Yes. The nickname Deadwood was indeed given to me by Lu Ruyan. The reason being that for the past 3 years, I had operated under the assumption that a multi-billion-dollar CEO would never be interested in me, and therefore, I had never made any inappropriate advances. Ruyan, seeing that I supposedly had no thoughts about her, this super beauty, got angry and gave me that nickname. Of course, I wasn't aware of any of this. However, after she sent several messages in a row, they seemed to sync without a trace, receiving no reply. Just as she was considering whether or not to call me, I was, unbeknownst to her, busy cleaning my new house. My new home was a 3-story villa-style building, each floor measuring 200 square meters, with 5 bedrooms and 2 living rooms, each bedroom equipped with its own private bathroom. The first floor had a layout of 4, 1 large living room, 1 large kitchen, and 2 bathrooms, with each bedroom also having its own private bathroom. So overall, it was very luxurious. This building had cost me nearly $5 million in total, and was only fully completed 2 months ago. Since its completion, I hadn't visited much. Each time I came to instruct the workers to install the furniture and appliances, and then I would leave. As a result, the house hadn't been cleaned at all. So when I walked inside, I was stunned. The entire house was covered in dust and cardboard boxes, looking like it hadn't been inhabited for a long time. It was uninhabitable without a thorough cleaning. However, cleaning such a large building by myself would probably take several days. Reluctantly, I only cleaned my bedroom and study on the 2nd floor, as well as the kitchen, bathroom, living room, and staircase on the 1st floor. I planned to hire someone to clean the rest tomorrow. Now that I had money, I couldn't treat myself poorly anymore. Even so, the workload was still enormous. Because the house had just been renovated, there was an incredible amount of dust, and it was all stubbornly clinging to surfaces. A vacuum cleaner was useless. I could only remove the dust residue by vigorously wiping with a damp cloth. So the difficulty of the task was considerable. After busying myself for several hours, I was finally able to lie down on the sofa and rest for a while. I picked up my phone, which was on a coffee table, and saw over a dozen messages from Lu Ruyan, which made me feel a little confused. Why was this young mistress suddenly sending me so many messages asking if I'd settled, and unable to figure out the reason immediately, I simply replied, I've settled and thank you for your concern, Miss Lu. I was cleaning, so I didn't see my phone. I'm so sorry. After sending a message, I took a picture of the area I had just cleaned and sent it to her. Lu Ruyan seemed to be looking at her phone because she replied with 2 messages almost instantly after I sent mine. Oh, okay. Good that you settled in. You must be tired after cleaning. Then I won't bother you from resting. Good night. Looking at the 2 messages, I wasn't sure what Lu Ruyan meant. Did she send me so many messages just to say good night? Unable to figure out, I decided not to think about it. So I sent back an okay emoji, turned off my phone, and walked toward the kitchen. Having been busy for so long without eating, my stomach was rumbling, so I needed to get something to eat quickly. In the following days, I was busy in my yard, and Ruyan didn't send me any more messages. The plot of land I contracted is located on the outskirts of River City, not only nearly 100 kilometers from the city center, but also surrounded by hills. This spot is over 2 kilometers from the nearest village, and more than 10 kilometers from the closest small town. If it weren't for the small stream nearby and a village road passing within about 400 meters, I would never have chosen this place because of this. The land lease price here is incredibly cheap, just 400 yuan per square meter for a 70-year contract. However, after leasing, the land cannot be developed for industrial or real estate purposes. Of course, this restriction means nothing to me because I never intended to use it for industry or real estate anyway to have enough space for growing vegetables, digging ponds, cultivating medicinal herbs, and so on. I leased a total of 150 acres, costing me 40 million yuan. On top of that, there were construction and appliance costs of 478 million, road repairs for 3-4 million, iron fencing for 3-5 million, and comprehensive surveillance for 175 million. In other words, up to this point, I've already spent 52-43 million, leaving only 10 million in my bank account. Money really doesn't last long, luckily. The beautiful CEO saw that I needed funds and directly advanced me 50 million. Otherwise, after receiving the money, it would have taken me another year to get everything set up. And then there's still the cost of purchasing farming machinery, digging ponds, and building structures for raising poultry, all of which require more money. But I'm not worried. Once the crops start growing, I'll have plenty of ways to earn money. So with a clear goal in mind, I manually cultivated 2 acres of low-lying paddy fields before the farming machinery arrived and planted the vegetable seeds I had developed during my time at university back in my senior year. With plenty of free time, I used my professional knowledge and a special cultivation method I discovered by chance to develop several new types of vegetable seeds. These included cabbage, tomatoes, broccoli, carrots, and eggplants. After being cultivated with this special method, these seeds have a shorter growth cycle, richer nutrition, and better taste compared to ordinary seeds, though their yield is significantly lower. A problem I'm still working on. Take cabbage, for example. Its growth cycle is only 7 to 9 days, but its yield is about 70% of normal cabbage, meaning the new variety looks skinnier. The other vegetables are similar. Even with lower yields, they still meet planting conditions. After all, rarity increases value. It's a fair trade-off. Watching the vegetables grow day by day, my mood gradually settled. Once the farming machinery arrives, I can start large-scale cultivation. Just thinking about it makes me happy. Soon another 5 days passed, and the cabbage I planted had reached maturity, ready for harvest. Looking at the lush green field, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. I almost wanted to shout, "Behold, this is my kingdom, and these are my subjects." Since the cabbage's growth cycle is very short, I didn't plant much, only about 50 square meters. Even so, I could harvest around 400 to 500 caddies of cabbage. There's no way I could eat all of that myself, so I planned to take it to the small town 10 kilometers away and see if any restaurants or hotels were interested, aiming for a long-term supply deal to secure a steady income. But just as I was about to leave, an unexpected visitor arrived in my yard. Lu Ruyan. At that moment, Lu Ruyan was standing at the gate, looking around, wearing a light blue dress and an adorable sun hat. She looked nothing like the aloof and high-powered CEO she usually was. Instead, she resembled a gentle and sweet girl next door. Seeing me, Lu Ruyan cheerfully waved. "Why is the beautiful CEO here? Shouldn't she be at work today?" I wondered, looking at Lu Ruyan waving outside the gate. Although a little confused, I quickly walked to the gate and opened it. Then I asked, "Miss Lu, what brings you here today?" Lu Ruyan rolled her eyes in a playful manner and replied, "Hello. Can you not call me Miss Lu? I'm still your wife for now. Even if not considering our relationship over the past 3 years, we should be good friends. You should call me Ruyan. Calling me Miss Lu feels too formal." "Oh, my bad, my bad. Then I'll call you Ruyan. What brings you here today?" Looking at the Lu Ruyan in front of me, who was completely different from usual, I didn't know how to explain, so I apologized right away. "And nothing much. I just wanted to see what your place is like." "What? Am I not welcome?" Hearing my question, Laruxian paused, her face a little flushed, and then she replied, trying to sound calm, "Welcome. Of course you're welcome. Come on in." I was just about to go out, because we were standing a little far apart. I didn't notice her blushing. I stepped aside, and Lu Ruyan walked in without hesitation. acting completely at home after she walked in. She suddenly remembered what I had just said and asked curiously, "Hallelujah. You said you were about to go out. Where were you planning to go?" "I studied biotechnology in university, so I cultivated some vegetable seeds myself, and recently, I cleared some wasteland on the estate and planted them. The vegetables are growing really well, and there are quite a lot of them. I definitely can't eat them all myself. So I was thinking of going to the nearest town to see if any restaurants or hotels would take them." I didn't hide anything from Lu Ruyin about what I was about to do and explained it to her in detail, hearing that I was going to town, and specifically to discuss business. Lu Ruyin became interested. She wanted to go with me and in my car. I originally wanted to refuse, but seeing her eager expression, I had no choice but to agree, judging by her demeanor. She obviously had never been to a rural town like this, so I thought I'd let her experience it. And so Lu Ruyin became the first woman to sit in the passenger seat of my SU-7. After arriving in town, I got a general understanding of the situation. Because there was a relatively popular hot spring resort nearby, there were several hotels in the town that provided accommodation and meals for tourists, although not star-rated hotels. They were located near the scenic spot, giving them a unique advantage that attracted a lot of customers. As a result, their daily vegetable consumption was quite high, and there were no large-scale vegetable farms nearby, so vegetables had to be transported from tens of kilometers away. Now, hearing that I could provide them with vegetables that were not only close by, but also of superior quality, taste, and nutrition, they agreed without hesitation. In the end, I signed a 6-month supply contract with him, supplying each hotel with about 200 to 300 pounds of vegetables per day for a total of 4 hotels, which amounted to about 1,200 pounds. Although the quantity doesn't seem like much, the vegetables I'm providing are top-notch, even better than organic ones, so they can absolutely be used as signature dishes that way. The consumption might not be so high. If the consumption increases later, we can increase the quantity as well as for the price. With Lu Ruyin, this multi-billionaire CEO, involved, there's no way we'll lose money. Even the cheapest cabbage is priced at 23 yuan per gene, approximately 500 grams, more than double the price of ordinary organic cabbage. The remaining vegetables are all basically above 25 yuan, especially the broccoli, which costs 45 yuan per gene. Lu Ruyin was a great help in getting these prices. So on the way back, I also bought a lot of meat ingredients. After returning to the manor, I used the vegetables from my garden to cook her some of my signature dishes to treat her more than 10 days. Later, she ate my cooking again. Lu Ruyin once again showed me the same reaction she had the first time. She ate the Chinese braised pork instant noodles I made for her, wielding her chopsticks rapidly with absolutely no resemblance to a cold Alufio. Finally, Lu Ruyin, stuffed to the point where her stomach looked like she was 6 months pregnant, lay on a sofa. "Ale, it feels like your cooking has improved another level," Lu Ruyin said, lying on the sofa, comparing the dishes I made before at the Lu family with the dishes I made now. She could clearly feel the difference, so she couldn't help but ask. Of course, this time I used vegetables grown in my garden, which are different from the vegetables on the market. The dishes made with them will definitely be different. Lying on the other sofa, I rolled my eyes in response to her question. "Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I didn't expect Ale to be so good at not only cooking, but also growing vegetables. It's really surprising." Hearing my explanation, Lu Ruyin suddenly understood. However, she didn't forget the purpose of her visit, so she suppressed the shyness in her heart and spoke again. "I really can't imagine what it will be like if I can't eat Ale's cooking in the future. I wish I could always eat Ale's cooking." When Lu Reynolds finished saying this, her usually pale and cold face was now completely flushed. She quickly covered her face with her hands, trying to hide her current appearance. Unfortunately, I, sitting on the other side, didn't see her appearance, plus considering that she had recently helped me finalize the vegetable prices, I replied, "It's okay, Irene. If you want to eat my cooking in the future, just come find me. I guarantee you'll be full." "Oh, you said that then. I'll bother you more often in the future. How about I rent a room here, so it's convenient for me to stay here in the future. After all, it's quite far from here. Back home, if I come here for dinner and then go back, it will be quite late anyway. You have a lot of rooms here and you can't live in them all at once, right?" Hearing me Tell her to come often in the future, Lu Rian replied, excitedly and at the same time. She made a proposal to rent a room after thinking about it. I agreed it's true that if she came over for dinner, it would be quite late. So I agreed to her proposal. Little did I know that this proposal would make me feel like I lost a lot in the future. After Lu Rian heard me agree, she immediately started making phone calls and giving instructions. Then the next morning, 2 large trucks arrived outside my manor, delivering Lu Rian's belongings. Suitcases, beds, cabinets, etc. were packed to the brim, with the professional skills of the movers and several maids. Lu Rian's house was tidied up, and even the clothes she brought from her home were neatly placed in the closet by the maids. It was as if she was treating this place as her home. However, I didn't realize all of this, and I thought these clothes were all newly bought by her. In the following month, Lu Rian would come over every other day, and each time, she would spend the night at my place, completely treating it as her home. And I didn't mind it either. I always felt lonely by myself anyway. If the things in a manor weren't still being fully prepared, I would have wanted my parents to come and live here. I just didn't know if they would be willing, since it's a bit remote here after all now. With a super beauty like Lu Rian around, there was finally a touch of life. So much so that in this month of getting along, I experienced a different feeling than when I was at the Lu family's house. When I was at the Lu family, I was always focused on completing the tasks. I always consider myself an outsider, and my relationship with the Lu family was just an employee one. But now it's different. I'm the owner here, and although Lu Rian is a guest, she's more like a friend. So it was as if she and I were living together. Although we had separate houses, I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional on her part, but every time I woke up in the morning, I would often see Lu Rian sitting on the sofa in the second floor living room wearing a sexy negligee. That graceful figure combined with her sexy negligee and the faintly visible fullness always made this young man full of vitality feel parched and tongue-tied, and I dared not look at her for too long. However, every time I saw Lu Reynolds' extremely good figure and quickly walk back to my room, Lu Reynolds in the living room would reveal a smile of successful scheming. Although the smile still contained a hint of shyness, at least proved that the idea that Wang Xiao Ming gave her was very effective, making me forget about the existence of the divorce cooling off period. Moreover, she believed that as long as time passed, a hot-blooded young man like me would definitely not be able to resist when the time comes. She would just force the issue, and she didn't believe she couldn't win me over. In fact, I didn't resist for long before I surrendered. That was one night in the second month that Lu Rian moved in. That day happened to be the 7th day of the 7th lunar month, which is the Qi Chao festival, the Chinese Valentine's Day. That night, Lu Rian seemed to plan it out after taking a shower early. She used the Valentine's Day as an excuse to say she wanted to have a drink with me. I couldn't refuse her, so I opened a bottle of red wine, and we started drinking. At first, there was nothing much to it, but when she drank the second glass, she seemed to be drunk and collapsed on the sofa. If she was just drunk, I wouldn't have thought much of it. After all, some people who can't drink well will indeed pass out after just one glass. In the past 3 years, I had rarely seen Lu Rian drink, so I didn't know how well she could hold her liquor. But what I didn't expect was that, after she got drunk, she kept talking non-stop like she was having a drunken fit. "Oh, can we not get divorced? I like you. No, don't want to hick, don't divorce." Hearing Lu Rian's intoxicated words, my heart clenched. To be honest, I really hoped that the words Lu Rian was saying at this moment were true. But I'm just an ordinary person with some talent in cooking. Can I really make a multi-billion-dollar female CEO like Lu Rian like me? Moreover, in these past 3 years, Lu Rian hadn't shown any romantic feelings towards me. At most, it was just friendship. But now that Lu Rian was saying she liked me, I suddenly felt a little flustered. I stood there in a daze, looking at the usually cold and beautiful woman on the sofa, who now looked like a drunken beauty. For a moment, I didn't know what to do. "Ryan, if you're drunk, I'll take you back to your room to rest." I tried to cover my panic in another way, but at this moment, Lu Rian seemed not to hear me. Her cheeks were flushed and unnatural red due to the alcohol. Her eyes were closed, but she was still muttering not to get divorced, and her body was still twisting and turning, and she was about to twist to the edge of the sofa if she fell. I estimated her, but would hurt a lot. So I quickly went over and picked her up, letting her lean against me. Feeling the heat radiating from her, I was momentarily at a loss as to how to get her back to her room. But after thinking for a while, I decided to carry her princess style after all. She was completely limp all over and probably couldn't stand on her feet, so I wouldn't even be able to support her, although Lou Reynolds' figure was extremely beautiful. If a perfect score was 100, she could at least get 98, the same as her looks. But her weight wasn't high, about 105 pounds, which was very slender compared to her height of nearly 170 centimeters. This weight was naturally effortless for me. After I picked her up, I walked towards a room, then placed her on the bed, turned on the air conditioner, and covered her with a blanket. Just as I was about to turn around and leave, Lou Ruyan grabbed my hand completely. Unprepared, I was pulled directly on her bed by her. Fortunately, I reacted in time and supported myself with my hands. Otherwise, I would have fallen straight onto Lou Ruyan. But even so, Lou Ruyan and I were face to face, looking at her exquisite face and her warm, red lips now flushed with a different kind of rouge. Due to the alcohol, her breath carried a hint of wine, warmly hitting my face. For a moment, a thought flashed through my mind: kiss her, kiss her, kiss her. But I quickly shook off this thought. She was a $1 trillion female CEO. What, she was just talking nonsense and didn't really like me. If I kissed her, wouldn't that be considered rape? I didn't want to be arrested and go to jail. I still had a lot of things to do. Thinking of this, I resolutely prepared to get up. However, just as I was getting up, Lou Ruyan slowly opened her eyes and then wrapped her arms around my neck. Then, in my shocked gaze, she kissed my lips in an instant. Two thoughts flashed through my mind. First, my first kiss was gone. Second, I was forcibly kissed by a $1 trillion female CEO. At this moment, feeling the warmth on my lips, my heart was full of struggle. Should I just leave or continue? When Lou Ruyan kissed me just now, she seemed to have woken up. If I left directly, what? If she really liked me, it would definitely hurt her heart. If I continued, what? If she didn't like me? Forget it. When a man dies, he could be reincarnated as a bird. Young people need to dare to do it. Do it. Having figured it out, I grabbed her slender waist and brought her into my arms. Then I began to respond vigorously. However, neither of us had any kissing experience, so as we kissed, we fell out of breath. Helpless, we had to separate. After separating, I looked at Lou Ruyan again, and she happened to be looking at me. The atmosphere suddenly became eerily quiet, but from her eyes I didn't see any dislike or dissatisfaction, but more of shyness and joy. I didn't expect Lou Ruyan to show such an expression, so this gave me an initial guess that Lou Ruyan coveted my body. After a while, I couldn't hold back anymore, so I took the initiative. I kissed her lips again. Having had the first experience, this time our kiss lasted longer, and this time I wasn't just limited to kissing. My hands began to wander over her body. Lou Ruyan seemed to have been prepared for this for a long time. Not only did she not stop my roaming, but she was also very cooperative. This made me even more certain that Lou Ruyan must be lusting after my body. Otherwise, how could she be so cooperative? From this, it can also be seen that this drunken state was definitely her conspiracy. But I'm a man. What do I have to fear from her? And so, with both of us willing, we completed the transformation from boy to man and girl to woman. 6 months later, Lou Reynolds, with a 5-month pregnant belly, hugged my arm in the kitchen, shaking it and whining, "Honey, I want to eat lemon chicken feet. Make some for me." Looking at Lou Ruyan, who was usually so aloof, but now showing such a childlike demeanor to me, I couldn't help but reach out and tap the tip of her nose, then said with affection, "Yes, my dear wife, I'll make you a plate of your favorite lemon chicken feet. Right away you go back and sit on the sofa for a while. The smell in the kitchen isn't good for your health. Thank you, honeymoon." Getting the results, she wanted. Lou Ruyan excitedly pecked me on the face, then went back to the living room to watch a trashy drama. To this, I couldn't help but shake my head. Ever since Lou Ruyan became pregnant, in order to ensure the baby's healthy development, Lou's father had her stay home to rest. She didn't need to worry about the matters in the group. As a result, without the pressure of work, she had become fond of watching these trashy dramas, laughing and crying every time she watched them. I really don't know what's so good about them. Okay, she's even swayed me after skillfully making a plate of boneless lemon chicken feet. I carried it to the living room and sat down close to Lou Ruyan. "Wow, smells so good. Greater than over equal than. Over equal to forward slash he. He just as I put down the plate Laruxian like a cute kitten, quickly leaned over and took a deep sniff of the aroma, emanating from the chicken feet, then revealed a satisfied smile of course. Your husband's skills are top-notch hearing Lu Rian's praise. I puffed out my chest. Lu Rian giggled at the sight. Honey is the best. I want you to feed me. Saying that she brought her pretty face close to me, looking at Lu Rian, who was like a little girl in front of me. I couldn't help but kiss her. Then I picked up a piece of chicken feet, shook off the excess juice and put it into her little mouth, where she ate it. In one bite, seeing Lu Reynolds' chubby little mouth, I wiped the corner of her mouth with a tissue, and then smiled. You're such a little glutton, and no, I'm not a little glutton. Hearing my words, Lu Rian wanted to refute, but because her mouth was too full, she couldn't speak at all. After a while, Lu Rian finally swallowed the chicken feet in her mouth, and then she just ed It's just that I like the lemon chicken feet, made by my husband too much. It's not that I'm greedy, alright, it's all my fault. My ruin isn't Lil Glutton. Then please, my dear wife, have another piece. Then I'll forgive honey. He looking at the chicken feet being offered to her mouth. Liru revealed a charming smile, and so in this warm atmosphere, we spent a wonderful afternoon. In the evening, after I made the bed, I laid down comfortably on it. Lu Rain also lay down next to me. If it wasn't for her pregnancy, she would like to lie directly on top of me. Allah will be happy forever, right? Hug in my arm. Lu Rain couldn't help but ask. Of course, we'll be happy in this life, and the next life, and the next after that. Hearing Lu Reynolds' words, I replied with certainty, It's so good to have getting the answer she wanted. Lu Reynolds happily narrowed her eyes in her sleep. She recalled that car accident again, the starting point of her happiness.